I was using my voter
Good evening. Thank you for joining us this evening to learn more about Proposition 50. My name is Michelle Famula, and I have the privilege of being the president of the League of Women Voters of Yolo County. Our countywide league is part of a national League of Women Voters, which began over 100 years ago as a nonpartisan organization to encourage informed election participation by all eligible voters. As a nonpartisan civic group, we do not endorse candidates or political parties. However, as part of our mission to support voting and encourage election participation, we do sponsor events such as this evening's presentation. These events are structured according to guidelines established by the League of Women Voters of California to promote fairness and civil discourse. This evening's presentation focuses on the upcoming November 4th California special election. The ballot for Yolo County voters has a single statewide ballot measure, Proposition 50. No candidates or other local measures will appear on the Yolo County ballot. Tonight's program reviews what a proposition is, how it is placed on the ballot, and to better understand Proposition 50, we will also review the history of the California Citizens Redistricting Commission and explain why a special election is required for this measure on November 4th. We will present the legislative provisions of Proposition 50, what a yes or no vote means, and the views of supporters and opponents of Proposition 50. We will also emphasize why voting is so important in a special election. The advocacy positions presented this evening, both for and against the measure, have been scripted by nonpartisan voting documents approved by the Secretary of State. Please note that these positions are not necessarily those of tonight's presenter. Tonight is an educational presentation. We will not be offering any advocacy on the part of the League at this event. We will also share nonpartisan resources so you can research the proposition further on your own as you wish. At the conclusion of our presentation, we will answer some written audience questions from those who are here in our live audience. We ask you to remember, however, that we are not the experts on the topic being presented, but we will do our best to respond to questions or refer you to the appropriate resources. Those of you in attendance received a card as you entered for writing out your questions. The guidelines for written questions are on the screen now. Our question sorting team of League members will combine duplicates and eliminate any inappropriate questions, rude language, or personal attacks. When you have completed your question card, please pass it to the end of the aisle and volunteers will collect your questions until approximately 7:30. Now for some housekeeping items. Please silence your phones or other devices and do not take photos. This event is being recorded and live streamed by Woodland TV and will be available soon on their website with a link from our League site for future viewing. Please refrain from any demonstration of opposition or support to the information provided during the presentation. We do appreciate your courtesy for those in attendance and viewing remotely. Attendings causing disruption interfere with our educational goals and would be asked to leave. We don't expect any of that. Thank you.
My name is Ivan Funk, and I'm going to provide background information on how propositions are managed in California and how they are placed on the ballot for a vote in order to change existing laws or enact new ones. Propositions are proposed laws that are placed on the ballot in one of two ways. Any California voter can put an initiative or a referendum on the ballot by writing a proposed measure and collecting the required number of qualified voters' signatures. The legislature can place constitutional amendments, bond measures, and proposed changes in law on the ballot. Propositions require a 50+1 yes vote to become law. Propositions can change current laws, create new ones, or amend the state constitution. Special elections are held outside of regularly scheduled elections. A special election can be held to fill current vacancies, sudden vacancies in public office, consider ballot measures outside of a general election, or to place on a roll call, decide on a roll call. The reasons can range from local issues to statewide contests. The upcoming November 4th California special election contains a single ballot measure, Proposition 50, which is an amendment to our current California Constitution that will remain in effect through 2030. The slide on the screen shows the proposition as it appears on your ballot. There are many ways to evaluate a ballot proposition. Some questions to consider include: what does the measure seek to accomplish? Who are the sponsors and opponents of the measure? The California Secretary of State's office publishes Power Search online where you can check where the money is coming from. Will the measure create conflicts in laws that will result in lawsuits or cause more problems than it will solve? Does the measure create its own revenue source or address how it will be funded? Are supporters or opponents providing information of substance about the measure or using distortion tactics that create half-truths? The California State League of Woodland Voters has not taken a position on this special election measure. As a nonpartisan organization, the State League, like our local league, has a core principle to neither endorse nor oppose candidates or political parties. Remaining nonpartisan, the California League neither supports nor opposes the legislative proposal in Proposition 50. Instead, the State League encourages voters to understand how the state's current law works to determine congressional districts, learn how the proposed ballot measure amends that process and impacts voting maps through mid-cycle redistricting, hear the arguments for and against the measure, and determine what is best for our county residents and our state. Be sure to vote. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Cindy Young, and I'm going to explain how California created the current congressional voting districts that were used in 2024 and in the 2024 congressional election, and how a vote on Proposition 50 is required for new legislative redistricting maps to be adopted for 2026, 2028, and 2030. The U.S. Constitution requires that new congressional district maps be drawn using the population data from the most recent census taken at the start of each decade. In California, prior to 2010, our congressional district map was drawn up by a majority vote of the legislature and signed by the governor. In 2008, the voters of California approved a state constitutional amendment, Proposition 11, known as the Voters First Act, requiring a nonpartisan redistricting commission to be created to draw up statewide voting districts independent of the state legislature. The California Citizens Redistricting Commission was established to draw state legislative districts. The commission was designed to be nonpartisan to prevent gerrymandering, the practice of manipulating district boundaries to give an unfair advantage to one political party or group favored by the state legislative majority in office. Political gerrymandering is not prohibited by federal law, but the California Constitution now explicitly prohibits maps that favor or discriminate against an incumbent, political candidate, or political party. In 2010, voters approved Proposition 20 and expanded the Commission's authority to also draw state congressional districts for the U.S. House of Representatives. The propositions passed by the voters created a California Citizens Redistricting Commission that consists of 14 California citizens selected through a rigorous process designed to ensure political balance and independence. The members are divided into 3 groups: 5 registered Democrats, 5 registered Republicans, and 4 registered with neither of those parties. The selection process is handled by the California State Auditor and involves several steps. The commission must follow certain rules and may not draw districts that favor a candidate or political party. The commission must also seek and use public input from communities about which neighborhoods should be kept. Together, the congressional district maps they create still require the signature of the governor. Why does Proposition 50 require a special election, and what does it do? California Proposition 50 requires a special election and voter approval because it seeks to amend the state constitution. The measure would temporarily suspend the use of the Citizens Redistricting Commission, which currently draws the congressional district maps, and instead allow the legislature to create a new map. Since this change would alter the Constitution and override a voter-approved process, it must be directly approved by the voters. The bill that led to this ballot measure was introduced as Assembly Constitutional Amendment 8 by House Speaker Robert Rivas and passed both legislative houses with 2/3 vote required for the state constitutional amendment. The amendment was signed by Governor Newsom, who set the date and procedure for the November 4th special election in August. The Secretary of State assigned the measure to the ballot for the voter approval as Proposition 50. The California legislature placed Proposition 50 on the ballot in response to newly redistricted congressional maps drawn in Texas and similar redistricting proposals called for by legislatures in other states.
Good evening. I'm Richard Peterson, and I'm here to present some information about Proposition 50's anticipated impact. And I should warn you, all of you who brought cats along, that I will be using my laser pointer. Put them in your pockets or purses or take them out in the hallway. It's a bit messy. Sorry. For clarification, just to repeat something that was said earlier, Proposition 50 only affects U.S. congressional House districts, which are for federal offices. So no county level, no city level, none of those elections will be affected, none of those districts are affected. This is a slide that you've seen before, and I just want to point out a couple things with it. It presents some information a little more graphically. This line here represents the current state of affairs with the Citizen Redistricting Commission. This line shows what Proposition is really all about, what Proposition 50 is really all about. The little purple section right here is the only spatial way to characterize what Proposition actually covers, Proposition 50. This is, Proposition 50 goes into, if voted through, goes into effect in 2025. It ends at the time of the census in 2030. So it's about a 5+ year period of time, and that's the only thing that Proposition 50 covers. After you get to the right of that little purple box, it goes back to citizen redistricting. If a majority of California voters approve Proposition 15, the congressional district map that was redrawn by the legislature this year will be used for the 2026, 2028, and 2030 congressional elections. After the next census in 2030, at the end of the little purple box, the redistricting commission will resume its role and use the 2030 census to redistrict California congressional areas again, congressional districts. Here's, this is a map of California, obviously, and on the left, this is the way congressional districts are currently distributed across the state. On the right, this is the way the state would look, the different congressional districts would look if Proposition happens to pass. Unlike the old maps, the new district maps do take into account the party registration of voters. The old maps, you can't do that. It's against the law. But the new maps for that 5-year period will take account of the party registration of the voters. Proposition would also change the percentage of registered Republicans and Democrat voters in many districts. Proposition, unlike the districts drawn, they take into account, Proposition 50 would change the percentage of registered Republican voters and Democrat voters in many districts so that Democratic voter representation would have an advantage in 5 districts currently represented by Republicans, and more Democratic voters would be pulled into 5 swing districts currently represented by Democrats. So, as was mentioned, as will be mentioned, this whole thing emerges because of a particular situation that we see throughout the country, or at least in certain areas of the country. It doesn't really, regardless of where you stand on this proposition, if it is passed, it does not necessarily secure more Democratic congressional seats. Who wins and loses each seat is dependent on what the voters in that district choose. That's the way it is now. So it works the same way. You cast your vote. Majority of people vote for candidate X. Candidate X is chosen regardless of the redistricting. As the new district maps themselves, under AB 604, the legislative map, the ballot would, it's this one, it's the ballot that would be required if Proposition 15 is voted in. Yolo County is split between 2 congressional districts. Split across congressional districts. Some cities and neighborhoods that split across, that today share a Congress member would be shifted into different districts, changing who represents them in Congress for the 2026, 2028, and 2030 elections. The results could alter political incentives, outreach, and federal attention for those communities. So there are some changes that might take place. This is now taking a closer look at just Yolo County. As you see from the map up here, Yolo County currently falls into 2 congressional districts. This is the largest section of the county, and it falls into District 4, which is currently represented by Mike Thompson. West Sacramento, over here, falls into the 7th Congressional District, which is currently represented by Doris Matsui. This is the redistricted map of Yolo County. And you can see that instead of 2 districts, it now spreads across 3 districts. Most of Yolo County, again, up here, is represented in the 4th Congressional District, currently represented by Mike Thompson. The West Sacramento District goes into, or the West Sacramento section of Yolo County goes into District 6, and a portion of the southern part, which is south of Interstate 80, goes into District number 8. It's John Garamendi's district. The maps created by Proposition 50 would result, I got that. One question that voters ask is, how much will Proposition 50 cost the state of California? The official voter information guide from the Secretary of State says, quote, because most congressional districts in California would change at least under the new maps, county and state elections officials would need to update election materials. This would result in one-time costs to counties of up to a few $1 million statewide, and one-time costs to the state of roughly $200,000. The county costs would be spread across the different counties sort of unevenly. We asked the election official to explain the cost of updating election materials for Yolo County. They explained that the state had asked all counties to provide an estimate of their expected costs, and they estimated a cost of approximately $1.26 million to Yolo County. Yolo County has already been reimbursed for that amount by the state, as have all other counties in California. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lorna Caraveau. I am here tonight to speak to you about what the people who oppose and the people who support Proposition 50 are saying, and the financial contributions received to date for their positions. As to financial support, because donations are still occurring, it may not be possible to identify all financial contributors on either side in time to publicize this to voters before the election. So, the slide on the screen shows a summary of arguments in favor of Proposition 50. This summary is in the Easy Voter Guide, published by the League of Women Voters California Education Fund. It provides information about Proposition 50 in straightforward language, as well as information on voting and voter registration. According to the Easy Voter Guide, Proposition 50 supporters are saying it is a short-term, temporary emergency plan needed to stop an attempt to unfairly rig next year's congressional election. It gives voters the ability to approve the district lines in this election. It creates fair maps that reflect California's diverse communities and protect our voices from partisan gerrymandering. It keeps California a leader in fair elections by preserving its independent redistricting system. It strengthens democracy by making sure that Republicans don't have an unfair advantage in Congress. The official voter guide, published by the Secretary of State, describes the arguments in support of Proposition 50 as follows. Proposition 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, approves temporary emergency congressional district maps to counter Donald Trump's scheme to rig next year's congressional election, and reaffirms California's commitment to independent, non-partisan redistricting after the next census. Vote yes on 50 for democracy in all 50 states. Learn more at stopelectionrigging.com. So, as of October 13, 2025, there have been over 147,000 contributions in support of Proposition 50, with over $143.8 million being raised according to the California Secretary of State. The top 10 contributors are listed here. Yes on 50 committee, $11.4 million. House Majority PAC, $36.6 million. Fund for Policy Reform, $10 million. MoveOn.org PAC, $6.9 million. California Teachers Association, $3 million. National Education Association, $3 million. Michael Moritz, $2.5 million. California Nurses Association, $2.5 million. Reed Hastings, $2 million. And the Consumer Attorneys of California Issues PAC, $2 million. The first two on the list consist of smaller donations contributed to political committees in support of Proposition 50. This slide shows a summary of arguments against Proposition 50, also found in the Easy Voter Guide from California League of Women Voters. According to the Easy Voter Guide, opponents of Proposition 50 are saying, Prop 50 is a power grab by politicians that undoes fair election reforms and returns California to gerrymandered districts that benefit politicians over voters. It replaces an open public process with secretive political backroom deals. Prop 50 hurts fair representation by dividing neighborhoods and weakening minority voices in elections. It lets politicians control district lines for years and could open the door to permanent, not temporary, control. It costs taxpayers $200 million when the state is cutting funding to important programs because of budget problems. The official voter guide, published by the Secretary of State, describes the arguments against Proposition 50 as follows. Prop 50 was written by politicians for politicians, dismantling safeguards that keep elections fair, removes requirements to keep local communities together, and eliminates voter protection that ban maps designed to favor political parties. Vote no to protect fair elections and keep citizens, not politicians, in charge of redistricting. Also, as of October 13, 2025, there have been 268 contributions in opposition to Proposition 50. Over $83.8 million has been raised according to the California Secretary of State. The top 10 contributors are listed here. Congressional Leadership Fund, $41.6 million. Charles T. Munger, Jr., $32.7 million. Thomas M. Siebel, $1 million. Kevin McCarthy for Congress, $1 million. Jim Jordan for Congress, $300,000. Douglas M. Leone, $250,000. Ken Calvert for Congress, $250,000. Redding Rancheria, $150,000. Vince Vaughn for Congress, $100,000. Jay Obernolte for Congress, $100,000. Contributions to support or oppose Proposition 50 are from individuals or organizations from both within and outside of California. More detailed information on donations can be found at Power Search on the Secretary of State's website. So if you would like to do your own research, nonpartisan resources for the information include the Easy Voter Guide, published by the League of Women Voters California Education Fund, the California Secretary of State Quick Reference Guide, the Official Voter Information Guide, also mailed to registered voters. Campaign finance information is found at the Secretary of State's Power Search link, the California Legislative Information website, and the California Faculty Association. So at this time, if you have any written questions and have not done so already, please pass them to the end of your aisle so a volunteer can collect them. We will take a brief break after the next presenter speaks. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kate Curry, and I'm here to present important dates and ballot return procedures for this election. As I hope everyone knows, Election Day is November 4th, 2025, and all ballots must be returned by 8 p.m. on November 4th. There is still time to register to vote if you have not done so. The last day to register online is October 20th, and that's for this upcoming election in November. Check to see that your address is up to date, and you can do that at the website listed above, https://registertovote.cal.gov. Mail ballots are never forwarded to a new address, so the address must be updated with the Secretary of State's office to receive a ballot in the mail at your current address. If you are registered to vote and have not yet received your ballot, please contact the election office by October 28th at the latest at 625 Court Street in Woodland, telephone number 530-666-8133. Voters may also register same day at any in-person voting center and receive a provisional ballot right up to 8 p.m. on November 4th. A completed ballot may be dropped into any U.S. mailbox with a collection time before 8 p.m. on November 4th. Check the collection time on the mailbox to be sure your ballot will be picked up on time. No stamp is needed, but voters must sign the outside of the ballot envelope for their vote to be counted. A completed ballot may also be dropped off at any ballot drop box or in-person voting center before 8 p.m. on November 4th. Ballot drop boxes in Yolo County are available October 6th through November 4th. There are 8 outdoor drop boxes in Yolo County: Clarksburg Library, Davis, both the campus and Davis City Hall, Sparta Library, Knights Landing Library, West Sacramento City Hall. In Woodland, boxes will be at Woodland Community College campus and Woodland Post Office. There are 7 businesses in Davis, West Sacramento, Winters, and Woodland with drop boxes available indoors during their store hours. And the dates are the same, October 6th through November 4th. All drop box locations are listed in the Yolo County Election Office voting guide mailed to voters. All ballots must be dropped off in these boxes by 8 p.m. on November 4th, 2025. In-person voting centers in Yolo County. The November 4th special election will have 6 in-person early voting centers. And these centers are all listed in the Yolo County Election Office voting guide mailed to voters. Davis, Woodland, and West Sacramento, those centers will be open October 25th and will remain open through November 4th. A center on the UC Davis campus and a center in Winters will open on November 1st and will remain open through the 4th. The UC Davis campus will open an additional center on election day only, November 4th, in the ARC Ballroom. All vote centers are open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. through November 3rd. On election day, November 4th, the hours are extended and all voting centers will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Polls close at 8 p.m. If you are in line to vote at 8 p.m., you will still be allowed to vote. We'll now take a 10-minute break to allow our volunteers to review and sort the questions that audience members submitted earlier. Thank you.
Clear enough in the mountains.
Yeah.
I think we're about to get started. So I just want everyone to take their seats. Hello, everyone. My name is Komal Hawk, and I'm here to present I was supposed to present a few of the questions we're going to get from our audience, all of you, but I feel like we're doing a great job of just being directly informational on this. So I don't believe we have any audience questions, and so I'll just continue to move forward to conclude our program with a reminder about the importance of voter turnout in this special election and others. So, from the Revolutionary War to the Voting Rights Act, Americans have fought to protect their right to vote and to expand their right to vote. Voting shapes our government and our society. Voting gives us a voice in government decisions and to choose representatives who align with our values and priorities. Voting holds elected officials accountable for their actions and policies. It encourages politicians to consider the needs and opinions of their constituents. Voting shapes the future for upcoming generations to help ensure a better society for future citizens. Abstaining from voting also has an impact, but it may not be the one you want. Abstaining to vote is not the same as voting no. Voting is the only mechanism by which we make our adjustments and improvements to our laws and prevent policy changes we believe are harmful to our community. Abstaining prevents you from having your voice heard and your opinion counted. Your vote matters. During the 2024 presidential election, approximately 80% of registered voters in Yolo County voted. That is a very high turnout. Unfortunately, special elections, those that occur outside of the regular election schedule to address specific time-sensitive issues, typically have a much lower rate of participation. This is concerning because special elections often include critically important decisions that will dramatically change governing policy or determine how state dollars are spent or alter civic liberties promised in our state constitution. One of our league's missions is to encourage informed and active participation in voting. This is especially important to prevent a simple majority of only a small fraction of eligible voters from making a profound change in our laws and regulations. We encourage all of you to vote regardless of whether you support or oppose Proposition 50. Thank you. I'm going to hand off to Michelle to conclude our program.
Thank you, Com. This does conclude tonight's presentation. We thank all of you who are in attendance and those of you who are watching at home and those of you who will watch in the next few days in order to learn more about this election. If you are already registered to vote, you should have already received your ballot in the mail. If you have not yet registered, you may still do so online at the Secretary of State website, registertovote.ca.gov. until October 20th and still receive a mail-in ballot. You can find more information about the deadline for mailing ballots or dropping them off at the polling centers or in drop boxes at the ace.yolocounty.gov 35 elections. If you did not receive a ballot by mail, it's important to know that you can still vote in person at a polling center and obtain a provisional ballot through same-day registration. Please make sure to tell friends and family about this because many people will hear that the end of voter registration is the 20th of October and they can still register and cast a vote at an in-person polling place up until November 4th. If you are registered and failed to receive a mail ballot, or if you have any other questions, we encourage you to contact the Yolo County Elections Office either in person at the County Administrative Office in Woodland or by phone. In closing, we would like to thank Dale Dennis and his crew from Woodland TV, which is broadcasting, streaming, and recording this forum tonight for future viewing. The recording will be available online up until and after the election. Look for the link on the Yolo County League of Women Voters website, lwvyolo.org. We thank the City of Woodland and the staff at this beautiful community and senior center for the use of their facility. And we also thank the many League of Women Voters volunteers who made this event possible this evening. Please stop by the table in the hallway to obtain a copy of the League's Easy Voter Guide for this November special election, and you may also obtain additional voter information from the League. We hope everyone in attendance and watching at home found this evening's information valuable. It is our pleasure to present this and to encourage voter participation. If you would like to learn more about our local Yolo County League of Women Voters or are inspired to participate in future voter education events, please visit our website at lwvyolo.org and consider becoming a League member or donating to our League organization. We thank you so much for your attendance this evening. Please enjoy the rest of your evening and safe travels home this evening. Thank you. Office short of people to work the polls.
And that's a paid part-time job, so if you're
Yeah. The sense is that there was some question about having enough folks because of the short turnaround, but I believe at this time the Yolo County Elections Office does have enough folks to be able to staff their vote centers. But thank you for raising that question. I appreciate that.
You can only apply still for next election.